Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach. And as always, even in this new year, I'm still your coach. And today is episode number 197, our second episode of the new year. Stay tuned. Well, hello, everybody. Happy New Year. How are you? I know that the episode that you're listening to right now is the second one of the new year. But I got to tell you, I am really excited because I'm getting ready to leave town again. And so I'm recording this earlier than you're going to hear this. But what I want you to know, the reason this is being recorded so early is I'm getting ready for a trip to Costa Rica. And a lot of you know that I lived in Belize, for a couple years, not too long ago. And I'm going down to the same area. And of course, I'm taking my entourage, which is my husband, Michael, my son, BJ, his wife, my daughter, Jessica, and my two grandchildren, Sebastian and Ellie. And we are out for a really good time. We've got this beautiful house that's sitting on top of a hill that overlooks the ocean. I know. Calm down. You could do this too if you wanted. But I'm ready for a little bit of warm weather. But before I leave, I have some things that I want to talk to you about because it's a new year. And I know what happens in a new year. Many of you want to make big, grandiose ideas and decisions about your body, your weight, what you're going to put in your mouth. But I've got a better idea for you. And I want you to really take this in. For the beginning of this new year, what if you just decided to do two things? And I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. And it's the two main tools that I use in my coaching program, that I use in any of my groups. It's what I always start with. And so it's what I want you to start with. Two things. The first tool is the most simple tool, and yet it's still one of the hardest for you and my clients to wrap your bodies and minds around. But it's the physical hunger scale. And the reason that I think this is so important and what I think is so funny is that it's so basic, and yet it's why most people want to hire me. I just want to learn how to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. That's what most people love about my podcast, is that concept. And it's so funny because once people learn it and then they'll be out and they'll be with friends. And of course, all of you socialize and you end up being with people. And for many of you, when you're in social situations, it's when you have the hardest time because of the things that you think about these social situations. So one of my clients once told me when they were in one of these situations, and I think they were being served many different courses. And what happened is she stopped eating most of her food at a certain point in time. And somebody at the table said, "Hey, why aren't you eating?" And she replied with this, "I'm not hungry anymore." And the person that was talking to her looked at her and said, "What diet are you on?" And it's so funny to me because all she said is, "I'm just not hungry anymore." And it's like such a foreign concept that someone thinks that it must be some kind of a diet. And here's the deal, guys. The beauty of most of the things that I teach on this podcast, and I think why it resonates with so many of you, is because it's simple. It's because it's really the way that we were all wired. We were all wired to eat when we're hungry and stop when we're full. And the reason that we're wired like that is because it's for survival. We have to have an appetite because we have to eat. And we have to have a stopping point because we can't keep eating forever. We don't have room for it. We don't have a stomach that will handle it. And we have a whole intricate system of how this has worked. And the problem with it is that in a culture that we live in, we have all of these grandiose beliefs about what our bodies should look like and what we should eat in order to get those bodies and why there's something so terribly wrong that we don't have that body. And through all that type of thinking as young women, for most of us teenagers, at least it was for me, that there must be something wrong with me and there must be something wrong with my body. And the only way to fix it is to fix what I put in my mouth. And what I'm putting in my mouth must be terrible. And I've got to start putting less. And it's the beginning of restriction and deprivation and messing with the perfect body wiring, right? The body is wired to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. The minute you start messing with that, it becomes disconnected. The longer that you stay disconnected, the harder it is to reconnect. So for most of you who are listening to this, you've been disconnected for decades, right? And so when I say something as simple as eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, you all think this is a revelation. It's an epiphany. But actually, it's the most simple thing because it's the way you were made. It's the way your children were made. It's the way we were all made. So all I'm asking you is learn how to get back to the basics. So for the beginning of this new year, my first recommendation to you is to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full at every single meal or every single time you sit down to put food in your mouth. Just ask yourself 2 basic questions. Am I hungry? Then eat. And then ask yourself the same question, am I full? And you keep checking in. That's the mindfulness part. You have to stay connected and keep checking in because your mind just wants to go bye-bye and look at other things and see other things and talk to other things. And your job or your prefrontal cortex is to keep bringing yourself back to the present moment of eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. Now, this is my suggestion. Do this for the next 2 to 3 weeks of this year. To bring it in, eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. Eat when you're at a -2. So most of you know my physical hunger scale. And if you don't, you can always get my free companion book that goes with all of the podcasts that I do. All you have to do to get it is to go to drdebbutler.com/change. And you will see in the first few pages the physical hunger scale. And the physical hunger scale is just a scale or a graph that goes from a -10 to a +10. -10 is starving, +10 is stuffed. I'm asking you to start at a -2 and stop at a +2. Now, what most of you will say to me or ask me, what's that? And guess what? The only way you figure out what that is by doing it and guessing and putting numbers to it until you decide you know what your numbers are. Now, I'm not the one that decides that for you. You decide that for you. I have in my book a little bit of guidelines of what it might feel like. And what I tell you is that basically the fullness and the hunger all feel more like whispers and not screams. And for those of you who have been listening to my podcast for a while, I've talked many times about becoming your own body whisperer with your own body, which means you listen to the whispers of your desires in your body, your demands for hunger, for sleep, for taking care of pain. All of those are involuntary sensations that give messages to the mind that tell it something. And hunger is the exact same thing. And the more you train your mind into those more subtle numbers, the more connected you are. Now, you may not stay in the 2s after you perfect this. You may decide that you want to eat when you're at a -3 and stop at a +3. I don't want to confuse you right now. What I'm saying to you is the -2 to a +2 means you're going to be checking in a lot. And some people say, well, it looks like I'm going to be eating more. I go, well, if you're going to be eating more, for now, that's a good thing because you're going to be checking in and you're going to be eating not more food, but you might be eating more often in the beginning as you're trying to figure out these numbers. And then what you're going to find out is that it really evens itself out. And of course, I have other tools to work with once you really perfect this tool, but it always starts with this. Am I hungry? Am I full? And I will tell you, I have heard from a lot of people who have listened to this podcast that alone changed everything. And I know for me, it changed everything. That question, am I hungry? Am I full? It's like I spent my whole lifetime figuring out how to lose weight, right? How many points? Maybe I should eat this. Maybe I shouldn't eat that, blah, 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 blah. And all along, that simple question, am I hungry? Am I full? Changed everything for me. And it can change everything for you too if you start with that simple concept. Am I hungry? Am I full? Start at a -2, stop at a +2. Now, once you do that, I have one more thing I want you to mindfully connect to every day. And that is being kind to yourself. I know, self-compassion. Probably that alone would do it for you. Because here's the thing. This is what I think we have all learned over time. We think that since it's just us when we're talking to ourselves, we can just beat ourselves raw and get ourselves into whatever it is we're trying to do. Okay, that's it. So, even if you're eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full, there's a way to do it that's a kinder way to do it as opposed to, okay, this is it, you fat pig. This is it. You're only going to eat when you're hungry and you're going to stop when you're full. And I'm telling you, if you don't do it, I'm going to whip the what out of you. That's not kind. And you might notice yourself wanting to talk like that. And what I want you to do in these next 2 to 3 weeks is see if you can just see it. And when you see yourself being mean, not kind. Now, how will you know this? I'm going to tell you the quickest way to know when you're not being kind to yourself. You will feel it. You will feel negative emotion inside of you because you're saying something to yourself that's making you feel bad. Now, those are called thoughts, and thoughts create feelings. And some of the thoughts that you think are also the way that you talk to yourself and treat yourself. And the best way to learn how to be kinder to yourself is to reflect on somebody that you love that you are kind to. And for most of you, if you have children or nieces or nephews or grandkids, or if you work with children, this is probably where you might see yourself the most compassionate. And all compassion is being able to hold a space for someone else who is suffering. So hold a space for them. You don't judge them. You don't even try to really make them feel better. You just allow them to be where they are and you love them through it. You hold it for them. And I think with children, it's really easy to do. And it's because, guess what? You know how we're wired to eat when we're hungry and stop when we're full? Guess what else we're wired for? We're wired with compassion. I really think that we're wired that way. And if we're wired with compassion, then of course we should be wired with self-compassion. But I think we're taught at a very early age that we don't do that, that that's being selfish, that that's being conceited, that that's being egotistical if you start being kind to yourself and saying nice things to yourself. But actually, it's about the most beautiful thing that you can do for yourself, because as you start bringing yourself up and making yourself feel better, do you not think that you might be more of an inspiration to anybody that you're around when you feel good? So that's what I want you to think about as you go through these next few weeks, is how can I be kinder to myself? And I've talked to you a lot about that in some of my podcasts, about being able to ask yourself a question every morning that would give your brain something to look for. And that's what I'm talking about right now, is maybe you want to start every single day with a question to yourself is, how can I be kinder to myself today? And make your brain think about 3 ways that you can do it. For instance, maybe one way that you can be kinder to yourself is that you can eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full and not make yourself get too hungry or get too full. That might be one thing that you might look for that day. How can I be kinder to myself in another way? Maybe what you can do is that when you're working, whatever it is that you do, and you notice that you find yourself doing something that you don't want to be doing, or you find that you did something wrong, you catch yourself and you calm yourself down instead of beating yourself up. That would be another way to show compassion or to show how you could be kinder to yourself. How can I be kind to myself? A third way. Another way might be that when you come home at the end of the day and when it's time to start getting ready for bed, you allow yourself to get ready. You calm yourself down and you do something that is kinder to get ready instead of revving yourself up so that you can get enough sleep. That would be a wonderful way to be kind to yourself. And if you ask yourself this question every morning and think of 3 different ways that you might be able to do it, guess what? You have just now given your brain something to do. And I will tell you what, your brain needs something to do, or else you know what it's going to do. It's going to do what you've trained it to do. Beat yourself up and then use food to feel better. And these 2 concepts that I'm teaching you can change everything. All right. You got what I'm talking about today? You're going to do 2 things for the next 2 to 3 weeks to the end of January. 1, you're going to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. Every single time you sit down to eat, you're going to eat when you're hungry and you're going to stop when you're full, no matter what. I love to put no matter what for you to say that to yourself because that means no matter what. No matter what, no matter who's talking to you, no matter how good it tastes, no matter how much food is on your plate, no matter what, you're going to stop eating when you're full. And the second thing you're going to do for the next 2 to 3 weeks is find how you can be kinder to yourself and catch yourself if you can when you're not. Now, what do you think you do if you catch yourself being mean? You know, you don't beat yourself up because then that wouldn't be kind. Instead, you use this simple Dr. Deb tool. You calm yourself down. It's as simple as that. Sweetheart, calm down. It's going to be okay. And I will tell you what, as simple as it sounds, it will calm you down. And when you're calmed down, that is the kindest thing that you can do for yourself. Okay, you've got your homework. You know what to do. I want you to do it, no matter what. For the beginning of this year, 2 simple things. Learning to be kinder to yourself and eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. And of course, I would never end a podcast without saying to you, even though I've said it a few times in this podcast, no matter what else you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
To get a free copy of Dr. Deb's companion workbook with all the tools, homeworks, and discussions that she uses in her podcast with all her private clients, please go to drdebbutler.com/change. This will make it even easier to follow along with her in future broadcasts.